What's up, guys? My name's Dean, and it is time for the round 16 preview. I know there was a game last night. Hawthorn ended up winning it by 22 points, I believe, in the end. But let's look at the other games of the round. The reason the video didn't come out yesterday is because I want all of the teams, I want all the changes. The teams come out at 6:25, which really only gives me like half an hour when I eat dinner. And then I stream pretty much straight after that, so that's why obviously the videos don't come out on a Thursday night, and that's why they come out on a Friday. But let's get stuck in. So the first game that's tonight, also second game of the round, but first game tonight, Mitch Clark, Cockatoo, Darcy Lang in for the Cats. They're playing the Swans. So Kirsten, Stanley and Gregson come out for Geelong there. And Ted Richards, Aliir, Naismith and Papley come in for the Swans. Coming out will be McGlynn, Nankervis, Laidler and Heaney has been managed. So this is going to be, especially now that Heaney's out of this game, I think it's going to be very difficult to see Geelong losing this game. I think, or maybe Sydney winning it's probably more likely scenario, whether or not. Geelong always play really well in the big games, and I think their forwards are definitely going to stretch that Sydney defence. Mitch Clark's been pretty good in the VFL, so he's going to come back and do some very good things. Now, the one thing that is going to keep Sydney in this premiership race is called Buddy Franklin. And with Heaney out, it's going to be maybe a Parker or a Hewitt pop up, kick a couple of goals as well to sort of, because they are so reliant on Buddy kicking so many goals. So if they can find that secondary goal-kicking player in their forward 50, they will definitely be better for the run in the finals. But if it's just Buddy down there, I don't see him winning the flag, even if he does kick 13 on grand final day. So very interesting to see how Sydney will go and how they might adapt if someone else can, if Heaney's not playing. So who plays that high half forward role? Parker. Do you stick him in the forward line for the final series? I don't know. It's going to wait and see how those things turn out. But that's the top 8 v top 8 game this week. I think we've got another one as well coming up a little bit later. But let's look at the Giants and the Pies now. This is at Spotless Stadium in Sydney. For the Giants, Kennedy, Steele, Smith, Tomlinson in. Out, Wilson, Kennedy, Buntine and Griffin both have hamstring injuries for the Giants there. Who are taking on the Pies, Marsh, Adams, Fasolo, White and McCaffer come in. Goldsack, Phillips, Williams, Cox and Greenwood have both been managed there for the Pies. Now, I met Mason Cox at Collingwood training on Thursday. I was across the road, so I figured I could see them there. And I just wandered over across the road. But he will not be playing this week. He'll be managed. He looked pretty stuffed by the looks of things anyway. But yeah, the Giants, they are ripping team to shreds at home. I don't think anything will change against Collingwood, who, although they are on the rise from where they were, they're nowhere near the level of class that the Giants have. And I think that Devon Smith is a real key to this Giants side. He is a very, very good player. Lots of score assists, can kick a number of goals himself. So, he's the one to watch, I reckon, this week. How does he come back from injury and how well can he continue? Yeah, very interesting to see how they're going to go. But the Giants win this one easily. We got another Q clash this week. It's the Suns and the Lions. This is at Metricon Stadium this time, not the Gabba, where the Lions got over the line last time. And I believe that was their last win this year so far. I think back in round 4 was Brisbane's last win, and it was against the Gold Coast Suns. So let's look at the changes. Garlett comes in. That's Jared Garlett. For Matt Rosa, who's out with the hamstring. And for the Lions, Zorko and William come in. For Keys and Walker going out have been dropped from that side. So William will make his debut for Lions. I think it's Ruben William is his name. Ruben, great name right there. But this is going to be a real interesting one. The Gold Coast, they seem to have a settled lineup now. Only the one change. So is that going to be the key for them winning? They demolished the Saints last week. I reckon they'll do it again with Brisbane this week. But Brisbane, you'd think they'd be a lot more competitive. It's a cute clash. You always get up for these types of games. But the reality is, if you're getting up for specific games, you want to be getting up for every single game. And that's what the best teams do, is their consistency. They get up for every game. They win majority of those games. And that's the thing, that they just, they always keep on keeping on. So I think the Gold Coast will win this game. They will be, I don't know, probably the most dangerous bottom 10 side for the rest of the year to try and, mess up sides in that top 8 if they play any of them. But, yeah, very, very interesting to see how the Gold Coast will go. I think they'll win this one big against Brisbane. But I'd like to see Brisbane be competitive. I'd like to see Leper get, a little bit of pressure taken off him if they can get a win. But, yeah, doesn't look good in Queensland, does it? Saturday night, the Dogs and the Tigers. I'll be at this one at Etihad Stadium. Fletcher Roberts and Kobe Stevens come in for Marcus Adams out with a foot, and Wilmington's been dropped after their win over Sydney last week. For the Tigers, lots of changes, love the changes. Rioli comes in, Markov makes his debut, Hampson comes in, Castagna comes in, McBean will play his third or fourth game, first game for this year. Very, very impressed. It's all about McBean for me this weekend. Is how many goals can Liam McBean kick? Hasn't kicked a goal in his AFL career so far. I think kicked 2 or 3 behinds in his 2 or 3 matches from the last couple of years, but it's all about McBean. Whenever he gets near the ball, I will be screaming, the bean is on fire. The bean is on fire. Anyway, that is what I will be doing at the Etihad Stadium. Hopefully Richmond can be competitive. Marriage, Vickery, Broad, Lambert and Grigg out of that side. Interesting one that Broad got taken out of that side, but I guess you want to play Castagna off the halfback a little bit more, because he's probably been our best player in the VFL, but Markov's also one to watch on debut. How well will he go? I think it was like pick 60 something in last year's draft. So, or pick 50 something. I don't know. It was pretty high, but it was Richmond's second pick. So I'm interested to see how he goes. Rioli comes back into the lineup. This is going to be a good game, I think, for the first half. And then the Dogs will probably blow it out in the second half. But I'm hoping Richmond can bring back some competitiveness. I'm hoping the kids in Rioli, Markov, Castagna and McBean can come in and sort of stamp themselves as the future of the Richmond Football Club. I don't think any of them will have standout games, but I'm expecting Markov to probably have a real big impact throughout the game, and hopefully McBean can clunk a few, kick a couple of goals. But yeah, I think the Dogs will win this one, but I'm hoping the Tigers can do something miraculous and pull off an upset. The next game is at TIO Stadium up in the Northern Territory. Melbourne and the Dockers, Grimes and White come in for Bug and Dawes. And for the Dockers, Ibbotson, Griffin and Langdon in for Barlow with that broken finger. Zach Clark and Jack Hanneth also out of that side. So a couple of tools go out, a couple of tools come in for the Fremantle Dockers. And this is a real interesting clash because Fremantle, they've been pretty good the last probably month or so. They've been up and about, had a couple of wins on the trot, and sort of how well they can go for these last 8 weeks. They could probably win, 3 or 4 of the last 8 weeks. They're probably pretty happy. So they're coming up against Melbourne this week, and Melbourne, they've probably proven themselves as the 9th side in the competition this year. I think they're sitting maybe 10th. 9th or 10th, equal with Port Adelaide. But they'd really want to put in a good performance this week against a side who they are expected to beat. They don't want to get complacent with themselves. I know it's not at home, I know it's away, even though it's their home game. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they go. I hope they can, get over the line here. I think Melbourne will win this game, with Barlow out especially. For the Dockers, but I think it'll be, it'll be an interesting game to watch. But I'll be at the Richmond game, so I won't watch it anyway. So you can sort of pick whoever you'd want to win that. I'm going for Melbourne to win that one. Now we move on to Sunday. The Blues, Armfield, Buckley, Graham, and Tutt coming into that squad of 25. Burn out for the season with that knee injury. Very disappointing for him. And for the Crows, Seedsman, Malira, Henderson, and Kelly come in for the Adelaide Crows. And Brown goes out with a groin injury. So, still a couple of changes could potentially be made there for either side. Adelaide's been pretty good this year on the injury front, so they haven't really used too many players, which has been very good for them probably going into that final series. They'll have a lot of fit and ready players, but there's still so much time in the season, my goodness. The Crows are going to win that one against the Blues, even though it's at Etihad Stadium. I'd like to see Carlton be competitive in this one. I know Adelaide's probably a really, really good side. They're probably the most formed side in the competition, won about 6 or 7 in a row, and they've just been very, very good the last probably, 2, or obviously they've won 6 in a row, so they haven't lost a game for a while. And I hope that Adelaide will just keep going on the trot. But I'd like to see Carlton be pretty competitive. I know Adelaide will probably win this game, but I'd like to see Carlton maybe do something here. They beat Geelong. Can they knock off another top 8 side in Adelaide? We will have to wait and see till Sunday. But let's have a look at the next game on Sunday. West Coast and North Melbourne. The battle of the bottom 8 sides. Or the bottom of the top 8. If that makes sense. So they're sitting 7th and 8th. West Coast and North Melbourne. West Coast yet to beat a top 8 side. And North Melbourne are sitting 2 and 4 against top 8 sides. So we're going to wait and we're going to find out a little bit about these clubs tonight. Who's really, out of it for the season will be the result of this match here. So Hill, Redden and Duggan come into the squad. No changes there. Anderson, Clark and Dorr come into the squad. No changes there. Clark could debut for North Melbourne there as well. But I think West Coast at home haven't knocked off a top 8 side yet. They'll be very, very vulnerable in this position. Can North Melbourne, if North Melbourne win this game, then West Coast 100% done. That's it. No chance of winning because North Melbourne, they're the lowest ranked of the top 8 teams, and if they can't beat them at their home ground, they'll be very, very probably disappointed. And you'd start to think, how can they then beat a top 8 side if they can't beat any of them at home? How are they going to beat them away? So that's the big question mark. West Coast probably had a little bit more pressure than North coming into this round, but North Melbourne might surprise this week. I'm actually going to pick North Melbourne to win this game. No, I'm not. I'm picking West Coast. Why would I ever pick North Melbourne to win away? I don't know. West Coast averaged 6 more goals at home. That's the only thing I can go off here. Because I know that if I pick North Melbourne, they'll lose. But do I want them to lose? No, I want West Coast to lose. I don't like West Coast. Because they haven't beaten a top 8 side. I'd love to see a top 8 team just not beat any other top 8 teams for the year. I'd love to see West Coast lose this. But I'd also love to see North Melbourne lose this. I don't know. I'll probably go for West Coast just because it's home ground advantage. But I would not be surprised if North Melbourne do an upset here. Would be very, very possible. Because they might stun a few people. They might actually just win this and win well. I don't know. I'm just coming up with the same thing or different things over and over again. Now, Essendon, come on, let's look at their game. The final game of the round. They've totally messed with my team sheet here. Have a look at this. Have a look. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, come on. They got 8 changes. Michael, Ambrose, McKernan, Aaron Francis to debut. Langford, Laverde, McKenna, and Polkingham. And Sam Michael also to debut there. But Aaron Francis is my one to watch, so I've got him highlighted there. And changing out for them, Ashby, Zaharaka suspended. Leuenberger with a knee. Stokes with a groin. And Jamar suspended as well. Oh, a lot of changes. And so they could have up to 8 changes. Sorry, not 8 changes. There's minimum 5 changes, but it's a Sunday game. So there's got their squads of 25 there. And for the Saints, Dempster, Templeton, Wright, Pearce, McKenzie come in. And Lee and McCartan out of that side. Paddy McCartan with concussion. So he's out indefinitely. We don't know how long until he comes back into the fold. Very good player. Take good care of him with the concussions. But I think the Saints will win this one. I'd love to see how the kids at Essendon go. I'd love to see how Aaron Francis goes. I think very high draft pick. He's going to be a very damaging player. So we'll wait and see how the Bombers go with that one. But I definitely think that the Saints will win. I mean, St Kilda, you've got to be a little bit more consistent. You've got to be a little bit more consistent. You haven't been super consistent yet. Win the game, you're more consistent. You've got to beat Essendon. That's a no-brainer. You lose to Essendon, you go back like 6 months. So you've got to beat Essendon here, St Kilda. If you don't, I'm very surprised. But I don't know. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. There will be an AFL 2004 video today, so get excited. Whoop, whoop. That'll be coming very shortly, within the hour or so. So I hope you guys can stick around to see that very soon. And thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later.